Blackwell Unbound is probably the strangest entry in the Blackwell series and one of the strangest games Wadjet ever worked on. Granted, it's not as out of the norm as Puzzle Bots or the New Guys, but it's a close third. While those are massive deviations from Wadjet's comfort zone, Unbound simply feels out of place and poorly realized. It's a mash of different ideas and creative directions that don't really fit together, and you can only really start to figure out why it ended up like this once you understand it was originally meant not to be a game of its own, but a small part of the third game, Convergence. In short, Unbound is a good game, but is an odd next step for the Blackwell series because it wasn't originally supposed to work on its own. Unbound takes place in the 1970s, following Rose's Aunt Lauren during her medium days. Everything takes place over the course of one evening as Lauren and Joey tried to help in two ghosts, a shut-in and a jazz musician, while discovering connection between the cases relating to a writer for The New Yorker and a strange old woman calling herself the Countess. The game is set up not only for the third game, but eventually the fifth game. As a result, lore building is the focus here, and there's not much going on under the hood besides that. Lauren is a great character, brash and world-weary in ways Rose will never be, but there's not much going on for her here. It's just another normal night of helping ghosts move on, and while the game does end on an emotional note, later games would have to pick up the slack on actually exploring it. It should be noted the game is a tad shorter than Legacy, and well more simplistic with how the dialogue system is handled. The puzzles in Unbound are fine enough, but they do suffer from how easy it is to miss important information necessary to continue them. While you can normally dig through short dialogue trees in Legacy to hear everything that should be heard, Unbound's important dialogues and information are usually hidden and can only be found by constantly presenting the same clue in your notes over and over to someone until you hear everything they have to say about it. And the game isn't clear on when you've actually heard everything or not. There's a real lack of polish in the design here, and I suspect Convergence, the third game, was delayed mainly to avoid a repeat performance of this. The art is a different story. The thought process seems to be homage again, setting up the Monkey Island series once more by copying some of its original game style more closely, even down to the lack of character portraits during dialogue, and making up for it with more expressive character sprites. I think this was a bad call, especially for this game. Unbound ends up being remarkably dark, even compared to the last game, and the dreamy, expressive, cartoony style doesn't really work for that mood. Where Monkey Island was a comedy, this is very much more a mystery thriller drama. Indoor environments also feel lackluster, like they're made out of cardboard or just replicas of real places, instead of trying to actually feel like a lived-in space. It does not help that the strong yellows and reds usually look ugly alongside the outdoor background's beautiful skies and city sights. I think this sort of look would have functioned better in a series of flashbacks and Convergence, as it was originally planned. Nothing looks quite real here, and that would have really fit if someone was experiencing these moments through their own perspective, like Rose having visions. On its own, though, it doesn't really work. The art staff is different once again, with Eric Robinson doing general art and animation, with added art from Emal Jammer and Julie Gilberg. Whoever handled the indoor environments dropped the ball, but everything else looks fine. Just not right for this story. While we'll see Robinson 2 more times fairly quickly, Jammer and Gilberg don't seem to have any other credits in the art department on any other games. The same cannot be said for the game's composer, Thomas Regan. He'll be doing composition for the rest of the Blackwell series from here on, as well as the next video's topic, Emerald City Confidential. He's a perfect fit for the series, doing a lot of jazzy pieces and moody noir tracks. He'll be showing far more range as we continue through the games, leaving a memorable mark on the series, even if none of his themes have the catchy qualities of Gresher's work. Regan's music and the strong voice will carry much of the game, especially the returning Abe Goldfarb as Joey and newcomer Danny Marco as Lauren. They bounce off each other great. Marco as Lauren, able to stand up to Joey in ways Rosa never could, carrying a tired but determined voice the whole game. A lot of Dave Gilbert's usual strengths are on display here, from the sense of place to strong characterization and conflicts, but that doesn't really fix the core issue of how unnecessary the game feels. It is absolutely central for the franchise's mythology, but I think one extra game before it to cement the Rose and Joy relationship, and a few more cases or character moments added here and there in the game itself would have fixed a lot of my problems. Unbound just comes at a strange time for the young franchise, divorcing us from the main character and diving us headfirst into deep lore. That did hamper my enjoyment a little, but not too much. Thankfully, the fact that this okay game is the worst of the Wadjet library I've played through so far should give you a good idea how strong the later games are going to be.
When the sun sets quietly o'er the sea, when the stars shine on a shadow